whenever you wanted to build any customized tools, right? We use SharePoint. Okay, suppose you wanted to store the data of your company or your team data, let's say. Okay, so you can do that with SharePoint. So SharePoint is it's already, again, it's a kind of a framework called provided by the Microsoft. Okay, and you have to use that framework and customize for your needs. So SharePoint is like predominantly it's everywhere. Like a lot of people are using SharePoint, even my company also, because it's very easiest way to come up with the UI. Okay, very fastly you can build the requirement. Okay, so SharePoint is everywhere nowadays. Okay, and it's very strong actually. Okay, and SharePoint.net is always it's a hot in the market.
Yeah.
So it's mostly like in the internally in the company, right? Okay, so if you wanted to build any kind of customized intra websites, right? Okay, so normally let's say like in my company, right? So whenever we wanted to gather the data, or whenever we wanted to store any data and wanted to show it to the internal teammates, right? So we build the SharePoints and we provide the SharePoint link to them. Okay, and they can access. So it's again it is being accessed using browser only. Okay, so we provide the SharePoint link, and we provide the access so they can view or they can edit or they can do based on the authority we give normal to them.
Yes, Anna.
But
These days,
SharePoint is it's a very hot in the market. So if you have
yeah,
SharePoint with .NET,
these
you're
days we are seeing a lot of jobs in on .NET along with SharePoint or on .NET along with Power Apps. I mean Power BI.
okay.
So yeah, Anna, they are being the more demandable roles in the market right.
Okay, so Power BI, I wasn't sure actually. Okay, but maybe because Power BI is there actually, from since legacy days, and I have been seeing about Power BI, but maybe now it is coming up again. Okay, I'm not sure, but SharePoint is it's a like if you have SharePoint, it's like you are like your profile is very hot.
Yeah, Anna.
Okay, see Harish joined. Hi Shiva. Hi Lali.
Hi, bro.
Okay, so let me share my screen. So yesterday we were discussing about the different types of inheritance we have in CAsh, and we have gone through the examples for all those inheritances one by one. Okay, and I mentioned that in CAsh we do not have multiple inheritance. Okay, so when I say it doesn't have, okay, but they provided a different mechanism called interfaces. Through interfaces we can enable multiple inheritance. Through classes it is not possible. Okay, but through interface it is possible. So before going to discuss about the interfaces, just few things I wanted to explain. Okay, so this is normally is a or has a relationship. Okay, so normally whenever you use the inheritance and try to leverage the properties of a parent class in your derived class. Okay, this is called is a relationship. So child and parent, child is a parent, that's what it called. The child is a parent, derived is a parent, a derived is a base. Okay, that is one thing. And second thing is, you are not going to use inheritance concept, rather you use the base class in the another class as a variable. Okay, I repeat, suppose if you have a class A and you wanted to use class A in the class B, but without inheritance. Okay, you don't say inherit, but you say okay, in the class B you declare an object and say that use that object in the variable of a uh, class B. That is called has a relationship. Okay, probably it will be easy to explain through example. So first focus on is a relationship. So I said if the base class is derived in the child class, so we say child is a base or derived is a base. Okay, so let's see, like, how I will say. So basically people ask, like, what is a or what is has a relationship. Okay, so it is typical, like, whatever we have been doing so far in inheritance, right, that is called is a relationship. If you see here, I have one rectangle class, okay, contains two data members, and I have two methods, area and perimeter. Now what I'm doing is I'm using another class cuboid, and I'm trying to inherit the rectangle class which I have declared here. Okay, and you see here the data members are public, okay, and the methods are public. That means all these data members and methods will be automatically imported to my cuboid. Okay, so this is called, like, this is called, the cuboid is a rectangle. So it's a derived class is a base class. So whatever we have been doing through inheritance, it is called, it's all called is a relationship. Okay, so here, like, since the two data members and two methods are coming over automatically to my cuboid, okay, what I'm doing is I need, for cuboid I need three different variables. So I have declared, I have, like, I need one more height, and I'm storing all these values. And then to, for the volume, to identify the volume of a cuboid, I'm introducing this return with the length, breadth, and height. So that means the cuboid class is a rectangle. That's what we call it as. Okay, remember, whenever you say, people may ask, inheritance is a or has a relationship, you have to say it is a relationship. Okay, if you want to execute, I can execute. So basically, if you see, for rectangle we need only two dimensions, length and breadth. Okay, and for cuboid we need height also. Okay, see here, I am in the main method. I have declared a object for derived class cuboid, and I'm passing the values 3, 5, 7. Okay, and since I have two methods from the base class, area and perimeter, and one more method, volume, from the derived class, okay, I am directly invoking those three methods. Okay, it says volume, area, and perimeter. Okay, so inheritance is always is a relationship. Okay, and has a, let me show you has a. Okay, so here if you see, guys, remember, like, see, in the previous examples we were first writing the classes and then we are writing the main method, but here I just did a opposite way, but it doesn't matter as long as, like, you have followed this, the open and ending parenthesis. Okay, so here if you see, I have a class called address, again public, three variables, address line, city, and state. Okay, and can someone tell me what is this method? Based on 2 days back class, what is this?
Yeah, no, it's a constructor with uh,
Exactly, yeah, thank you so much. It's a constructor. How you are saying it's a constructor? Because
same class name.
class name and the method name is same
Method
here,
name.
so it's called constructor. Okay, so in this constructor, it's a three parameters. Okay, and I am storing those three values in the three public variables. Okay, so simple, one class address to store the address values. And if you see, in a class, see, I have not said inherit from class address. I did not say here, right? Normally we say colon, right? We say, right, colon and address something, right? We mentioned, right? But I'm not mentioned this. Instead, what I did is I have used this class, okay, and storing that class in a address variable. Okay, so class object I'm referring as a variable in the under class. It is called has a relationship. Okay, in case if you are using a class reference or object in another class as a variable, it is called has a relationship. Okay, clear? And I am using some two more variables for the ID and name. Okay, and if you see here in my method, it's again a constructor because the class name and method name is same. Here I'm storing the integer ID, name. Okay, and see what I'm doing. I am again using this variable as a parameter here. You see, address. That means these three are the public variables. Okay, these three public variables by default it will be part of this variable because I am using the object variable in another class. So this address contains three fields: line, city, and state. And since I need to store those three values, okay, as part of constructor, I'm giving that like, hey, use the object of the class and okay, and populate those three values by using only one single name, it is ADRS. Okay, so whatever the values I'm getting through constructor, I'm moving on ID, name, and address. So here this means it is we are passing three different variables through this. Okay, let's see here how I'm doing it here. So here, okay, so after this storing it, then I'm just trying to display the values all employee ID, name, address line, city, and state. Okay, so here, so remember else we have two things here. One is the address class. Okay, one is employee class. There is no direct inheritance here involved. Rather, you are using the base class or the class as a object in another class. It is called has a relationship. Okay, so now in the address class, okay, right, I have declared and I'm using those three values here. Address contains address line, city, and state. Okay, and again another class for employee here. For employee, creating one more object called employee. Here I'm passing the ID, name, and the third parameter is it is a address object, right? So this address object I am storing it here. So this is very important. So first thing is you are declaring a variable for the class. Okay, and you while for the constructor you are passing or you are getting the values of those three values as a object reference. Okay, but since there is no direct reference between address and employee in the main method, okay, I have to create a separate objects here. Okay, for the address a separate object and for employee separate object. But what I did is for the employee object, my third parameter is a object. That's why I passed this address object here. That means I'm passing 1001 Venu and these three parameters. Then I'm trying to display the values. Okay, it just prints whatever I mentioned in the or hard code in the program. Okay, so clear guys, is a or has a relationship. And just read the last two lines. So if it is a relationship, that means you are using inheritance, okay, from the base to derived class. The public methods and protected methods or members will be automatically imported in derived class. But if it is a has a relationship, only the public members are accessible in the the what do you call the child class. Basically, we should not say the child because we are not directly inheriting, but the class where you are using that previous class. Clear? Any questions? Is a or has a? It's one of the interview questions. I know you guys were asking about this material. Okay, so my plan is to upload this material tomorrow because I have one more class left for polymorphism. So once that is done, we are good with all OOPs. So I can, store that, or I can upload into the drive and share the link to you. Okay, so fair enough. Am I good to assume that you are able to understand this easy and has relationship? Can someone confirm, please? Okay, thank you. Okay, so now abstract methods. So we have been discussing about abstract methods, right? Okay, so abstract method means what? It only contains the method declaration. You don't have any function body. Okay, or you can say that you don't have the implementation thing. So here, take the same example. Okay, so normally if you define any class, right? Okay, you normally have, this is called a function declaration. This is called the function body. Okay, so it's a declaration, it is the body. So for abstract methods, you normally only have the method declaration. You don't have the implementation part. You don't have the function body. This is called abstract. Okay, so most of you know by this time because we have been discussing about this abstract methods. Okay, so if your class contains at least one method without any implementation or without any function body, then you have to keep that method as a abstract. Okay, I repeat, if your method contains only the declaration and doesn't have the implementation or there is no function body, you have to define that method as a abstract. And if you have at least one abstract method in your class, automatically that class has to be qualified as a abstract class. Okay, if you see here, it's a adding two numbers. Okay, I don't have this function body, I just closed it here. That means I have only declared it. I did not say like no open brace, accept the two values and result equal to num1 plus num2 and display a result, something like. So it's only the declaration. So since I have at least one method as a abstract, okay, you have to declare the class also abstract. Okay, so let me show you one example for abstract class. I think you are already familiar, but just wanted to give some more information about abstract classes. Okay, so here you see, okay, forget about this is the main class, main method class. So I will explain about this one. You see here, there is one class. Okay, forget about the class name here. First, see, I have one method to add two numbers, another method to subtract two numbers. Okay, and I have one more method multiplication and division. Okay, but I did not have the function body or I did not have any implementation part. That means these two methods are abstract methods. Okay, so since I have two methods as a abstract, okay, I need to mention the class also as a abstract. Okay, so remember guys, abstract class, it's not required that everything should be abstract methods. Okay, you can have regular non-abstract methods also and abstract methods also. But the key is that if your class contains at least one abstract method, then you have to define your class as a abstract class. So since since I have two abstract methods, so whoever is going to inherit this class, okay, so it is child class responsibility to define the function body for these two methods. So the child class is responsible for writing the actual code to do what to do for these two methods. So you see here, I am using a child class inheriting from parent class. Okay, right? So since I am inheriting the base class and these two methods are abstract in the base class, I am writing the function body, or I'm writing the implementation part for these two methods. Okay, you see. So here one thing you have to remember is, since you are implementing the abstract methods in your child class, okay, you have to say override. You are overriding whatever is defined in the base class. Okay, you are overriding whatever is defined in the base class. Okay, so here if you see, so basically in ABS child, I have two methods automatically came, which is add and subtract because it's public. Okay, and these two methods I have already written the code, or I have already written the implementation part. So that means ABS child has four methods for adding, subtracting, multiplication, and division. Okay. Okay, just print accepting the values and printing the results. So clear guys, abstract methods and abstract class. Okay, so just see whatever I said here, right? If a method is, these are all interview questions. That's why I mentioned abstract class is
Yeah.
little very important actually, and a lot of people ask the questions on these abstract methods. Okay, so if you see, if a method is declared as abstract under any class, then the child class of the abstract class is responsible for implementing the abstract method without fail. Okay, you see here, these two methods are abstract in the base class, and since this derived class is going to use this base class, okay, it is child class responsibility to write the implementation part, okay, for these two abstract methods. Okay, and one more thing I mentioned is, abstract class is not required to have everything as abstract. We can have non-abstract methods and abstract methods. Okay, so the question is abstract class contains only abstract methods? No, right? It has the abstract methods and also non-abstract methods. Okay, and one more question, can we create an instance of an abstract class in C#? So instance means, can you create the object for an abstract class? Okay, I say no. Can someone answer no, why we cannot create as a object for a abstract class?
Because they won't have any methods. They
Exactly.
only.
You mean they don't have any implementation? See, suppose
Yeah. Yeah.
if I use this as a
They just have.
object, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's your point on. So basically, when you create a object for this parent class, okay, you may be able to access these two methods, but where is the the implementation for these two methods? You don't have, right? That's why you cannot create a reference for the abstract class.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so why it's basically the subsequent question is, why you are saying no? Because there is no implementation part available in the abstract class. Okay, so and let's see where exactly we use this abstract classes, right? Okay, see, abstract methods are usually declared when two or more subclasses are expected to fulfill the similar role but in a different manner. Okay, so the function or probably I can say if you want to calculate the volume, okay, for square it would be a different of logic, for rectangle it's a different logic, for circle it's a different logic, but it's basically it is area only, right? Because if for you want to calculate the area, but based on the shape of the object, the rule or the the method, the implementation part is different for rectangle, for square, or for cuboid. So you wanted to perform a similar role, but it's a different manner based on the shape of the object. I can explain it through example, but just they may ask like, no, where exactly you use your abstract methods. Okay, this I will show you through example, but two more questions. Can we declare an abstract method as sealed in C#? Can someone recall what is sealed class?
Yeah, no, sealed class, it cannot be inherited or it cannot be used somewhere else. It has a sealed keyword.
Right. So if it is sealed, you cannot inherit that class. Okay. But if you cannot inherit the class, okay, how do you implement the logic for this abstract methods? It is not possible, right? Seal means you cannot inherit.
Yeah,
Without
no.
inheritance, you cannot implement the methods. That's why you cannot declare a abstract method as a sealed. Okay. And also same thing. Can we declare abstract method as a private? So private means it's only within the class. Okay. But if we declare private, then if you inherit, okay,
Yeah,
if
no,
you try to inherit,
cannot be
that
inherited.
particular method will not be available in your child class. So there is
Yeah,
no point in declaring abstract as a private.
yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah,
So let me show you like I was telling you right now how what exactly where exactly you use this abstract methods, right? So just remember, when two or more subclasses are expected to fulfill the similar role in a different manner. Okay, let me see. So I wanted to calculate the area of my different entities. I want to calculate for rectangle, for circle, for triangle, and for cone. Okay, so in order to calculate the area of these entities, I need some the dimensions of that particular object, right? So for rectangle, I need height and width. For circle, I need pi and radius. For triangle, I need width and height. And for cone, I need radius, height, and pi value. Okay, so if you see here, height, width, radius, pi. These four I need because all are same, right? Width also repeated, height repeated, radius repeated, height. So basically four values I need to use: height, width, radius, and pi. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so here if you see, I need four different variables: height, width, radius, and since pi is it's a constant value, so I have declared with constant. Okay, and I have only one abstract class to calculate the area. Okay, so I declared abstract because the actual implementation of get area varies based on the type of shape. That's why I declared as abstract. And since I have one method with abstract, I have to declare my class also as abstract. Okay, so now this is my base class, and this shape one is rectangle, one is circle, one is triangle, and one is cone. So if you see, all my methods and data members are public, so by default I can access. So if you see here, for rectangle, okay, I have the constructor to load height and width. Okay, and since to calculate the area of a rectangle, okay, I need to multiply width and height. Okay, and if you see here, this abstract method I am overriding in my derived class. So I said override, and I have implemented by returning width and height to calculate the area of a rectangle. So same as circle, I'm inheriting the from the shape. Okay, and again I have a constructor to load only radius. Okay, because for circle I need only radius. And to calculate the area of a circle, I'm returning pi radius square. And for triangle, again a constructor to load height and width. Okay, and again I am calculating with the formula width into height by 2. And also same thing for shape also. So what I'm trying to explain is that, like, your requirement is to calculate the area, but since it differs from the different based on the shape of the object, you create that method as abstract. And don't worry about that. Let the consumers of your base class define or write the actual code or write the implementation part for that particular method. Okay, so based on the, if it is rectangle, it's a separate method or separate implementation. If it is circle, separate implementation. If it is triangle, a separate implementation, like so on. So clear, guys, where exactly we use this abstract methods? I can show you one more, but are you clear? Are you clear with this, the concept, and and because you should be in a position to explain, because nowadays, interview, because see, I also take the interviews, right? So I ask, like, where exactly you give some examples. So basically, normally whenever they ask you, a straightforward questions, okay,
Yeah.
try to add this extra as an extra. Okay, if they say, just tell about abstract class, you can mention about abstract class, but you take one more step forward and try to give a real-time example. Okay, so I can use this class in this, concept and in this voice. That way, like, they know that, like, okay, you are not only familiar with the concepts, but you understand the real-time scenarios also.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will just try to execute this and will print the volume or the area of rectangle, triangle, circle, and cone. I mean, I'm not focusing on the main part here. Basically, in the main part, what it is, I've created the object for each and every class in the derived class, like, rectangle, triangle, circle, and cone, and I'm just invoking the get area method. Okay, so this is, and let me give you one more example. Okay, so this is like, you are very familiar with this electricity bill generation, so here if you see normally, for electricity bill, it is a different pricing for domestic uses and different pricing for the commercial uses, right? So here I'm trying to implement the abstract class. Okay, and based on the type of the property, whether it is a residential or whether it is a commercial, based on that, I'm going to use the unit price and calculate the total amount. So if you see here, I have a class, okay, and I have declared one method as an abstract. The method is get rate. The rate we have to use, whether based on the domestic or residential or commercial, I have to use the different rate. So this I have declared as a abstract. Okay, and I have one method, it's a public method, to calculate the total bill amount. Okay, so here, since the get rate method is abstract, I have declared the class as a abstract. Okay, so here in my derived class commercial plan, okay, which is derived from the plan here, okay, I am going to override this abstract method get rate. Okay, and I'm returning the per unit price for commercial plan is, it's a, like, 5 rupees or $5. Same way for domestic plan, I'm deriving from the base class. In domestic, it is per unit is 2.5. Okay, so you are invoking a derived class, okay, to get the value or to get the unit price based on the plan. Okay, and then you are using the calculation method. Okay, you see, calculation method is, it is a public, so automatically available in my derived class also. So if you see here, so if you see here in the main method, excuse me. So in the main method, okay, I am using for the commercial plan, I'm creating a object called P, and for domestic plan, I'm creating another object called D, and I'm passing the number of units consumed by for the commercial plan and for the domestic plan. Okay, so what I'm trying to explain here is that here the get rate is a abstract class. Okay, and based on the usage, whether it is a domestic purpose, a different rate. If it is a commercial purpose, it's a different rate. Okay, so you are just remember this, right? When two or more classes subclass are expected to fulfill a similar role in a different manner. Okay, so my role is to calculate the total amount due on the given month. Okay, but my implementation is different for a domestic purpose and for commercial purpose. Okay, let's try to run this. Okay, it will just say like now for commercial purpose 250 units, this is the total amount due. For so basically like I mean the intention of this programs is to get you understand the concept easily. Okay, if I write a very big program, it would be very tedious for you to understand. That's why like now I'm writing simple programs. Of course, it's not my own programs. I just trying to get from different sites. Okay, so that way like now I can easily explain the concepts. So clear, guys? Abstract methods. Any questions on abstract methods or abstract class? Okay, so now different concept interfaces. Okay, so now you know that abstract class contains, okay, abstract methods, but you also know that abstract class may not be required that like everything has to be all abstract methods. You can have non-abstract methods and you can have abstract methods, but when it comes to interface, everything should be abstract only. That means whatever you declare the functions using interface, all the methods should be containing only the declaration part, no implementation part. In the abstract class, you can have a non-abstract method which contains method implementation, and it can also has an abstract method which doesn't contain the implementation method. But interface, everything, if you write 10 functions, 10 methods in interface, all 10 mandatorily it should contain only the declaration. Not even a single method should have the implementation part. Clear, guys? It is, that's why I said underline, fully unimplemented. Nothing is implemented. All the methods in the interface has to be only a declaration part. Okay, that means it's a pure abstract class. Okay, in the abstract class we used to keep only one, at least one method, but interface everything should be abstract. You are not having any kind of implementation for any method. So why they come up with interfaces? Basically to achieve the multiple inheritance concept. Okay, so as I told you earlier, CH doesn't support multiple inheritances through the classes. That's why they have introduced interface concept. Through interface you can achieve multiple inheritance. Okay, so now you see the difference. So we have class, we have abstract class, we have interface, right? So class, it contains only non-abstract. Every class in the method, it should have the implementation part, right? You cannot open it, you cannot just simply write a declaration and leave it. You should have definitely a method with a implementation part, right? So you cannot see, take any class, right? So far we have discussed so many examples about the classes, right? So did we have any class having a method without implementation? We don't have, right? Unless we, I mean, recently we discussed about abstract class, but before that, So by default, class contains non-abstract methods. That means it contains the function declaration as well as the body. But if it is abstract class, it contains both non-abstract methods and abstract methods. I was showing you, right, like that the abstract class have like the addition multiplication as a fully implemented, and division and multiplication without implementation. So two non-abstract and two abstract methods. So it's a combination. But interface, by default, everything declared in that method has to be abstract. So you cannot have some methods with the implementation. Okay, so now I told you, right, so since interface contains only the declarations or only the abstract methods, but how do who is responsible to write the actual logic for those methods? Okay, so that's where you have to use the inheritance. So you inherit the interface in your child class. Okay, and since interface contains only the declaration part, it is child class responsibility to write the actual code for those methods. Okay, so a class inherits from under class to consume the members. Let's say like now if you have a method already available in the parent class, you simply invoke the method to achieve or to get the required output. But if it is interface, it is your responsibility to write the code also. Okay, if you are inheriting from an interface, it is it is to implement the members of its parent class. So the child class has to implement that code, or child class has to write the function body and then start using it. If it is a normal class, you directly invoke the method. But if it is a abstract, you have to write the logic, or you have to write the implementation part, then you invoke it in the child class. Okay, so now let's say like a few things. Default scope for the members of an interface is public. Okay, so if you see, if you declare a class, the default scope is it is a private for the classes. Okay, what are the methods you mentioned right here? But for interface it is public. The reason being, interface is contains only the declarations, and since you wanted to use that interface, you have to inherit in the derived class. So if you want to use in the derived class, it has to be a public. So by default it is public. Okay, so by default every member of an interface is abstract. So I mentioned, right, interface contains all the methods should contain only the declaration. So since every method is a abstract method in the interface, you don't need to explicitly mention that, hey, abstract, don't need to use the keyword abstract, because if it is interface, compiler knows that it's only contains abstract methods. Okay, and one more thing is, this is the interface, we should only have the methods. You cannot have any data members or constructors for the interfaces. Okay, and an interface can inherit from another interface just like a class inherits from another class. So you can have interface, derived class also can have interface. So one interface, another interface, then third one you can say a class using the second interface. So interface can inherit from another interface just like a class inherits from the another class. And just remember, every member of an interface should be implemented under the child class without fail, right? Because since you are deriving that interface, it is your responsibility to implement the abstract methods which are declared in the interface. Okay, but in abstract class, if you see like whenever you are trying to implement the abstract method in the derived class, you are using keyword called override. Okay, you're using the keyword here, override, right? But interface by default, everybody knows that it always contains abstract methods. There is no need to mention this override keyword for interfaces. I will show you like but I just wanted to cover this theory part. Okay, so this is the question I was telling you, right? An interface can inherit from another interface, just like a class. So this is one interface. Okay, I have one method. See, I did not use abstract here. I did not use abstract for the method or class, because when I say interface keyword, compiler knows that it contains only the abstract methods. Okay, now another interface, again abstract method. Okay, in my public class, I'm trying to implement these two interfaces here. Okay, public class A, interface 1 comma interface 2. Since you are trying to inherit interface 1 and 2 in your class, okay, it is your responsibility to write the implementation part here for method 1 and method 2. So is more than one interface allowed to implement a class? Answer is yes. Okay, is it necessary to implement the all interface methods in C hash? Okay, so let's take this example. Interface 1 contains method 1, interface 2 contains method 2, right? Okay, now you see here, forget about this abstract class, just say public class A, interface 1. So this class A contains method 1 and method 2. Okay, so assume that interface 1 contains two methods, method 1 and method 2. But here, if you are using interface and inheritance, using the inheritance for class A, so ideally this class A should have the mechanism to write the implementation part for method 1 as well as method 2, right? But what I did, I have only written the implementation part for method 1, but I don't have the implementation in method 2. That means you are partially using method 1 for the implementation, but method 2 you left as it is. Okay, since you did not have the implementation for method 2 in the derived class, you have to say abstract and abstract. So it is not necessary for a class that implements the interface to implement all its methods. Okay, so you have two methods for interface 1, but you have implemented only for one method, and another method you did not implement. So since you did not implement for another method, you have to say abstract and abstract in the derived class also. Okay, so clear, this is clear guys, or any questions? Little tricky, so just wanted to get your buy-in. So you're good with this concept? Why I have used this abstract class in my derived class? Can someone unmute and tell? Understood this? Shall I repeat? Say yes or no, yeah. Silas doesn't give any concrete answer.
No, sir. I think we are good.
Good. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Now see what is interface versus class. So like abstract, interface also you cannot create the object. Okay, because interface contains only the method declarations. There is no way directly you can start using the methods. That's why you cannot create any object for the interface. Okay, and I mentioned in the previous slide, interface doesn't contains any constructors or any data members. It only contains the methods. Okay, and by default all the methods should have public, because that's how you can inherit that method in the derived class. Okay, and interface can be implemented by a class. Okay, because if you want to start using that interface, you have to inherit in a class. Okay, an interface can extend multiple interfaces. That means interface 1 you can write one declaration, interface 2 you can say derive from interface 1 and write some methods like that. So you can extend, like how you are using class A, class B, class C, right, in the multi-level, like that. Interface 1, okay, then interface 2, then interface 3, like that. It can extend multiple levels. And if it is interface and abstract class, right, so both interface and abstract class cannot be instantiated, means we cannot create the methods, we can create the objects because it has some abstract methods. Okay, and the okay this one, but we can create the reference variable for both interface and abstract class. This right now, park this statement, you park it. I will tell you what exactly it is. Okay, and the subclass should implement all abstract methods. Yes, because in the derived class you are going to use the abstract class or interface, so it is the child class responsibility to actually write the function body or implementation for the abstract methods. Okay, and you cannot have a sealed, because sealed means you cannot inherit in the derived class. That's why it should not be declared as sealed class. Okay, so it's like, you can go through, like, once I send these slides. Okay, I just try to put as many as possible, so that, like, it will be easy for you to clear the interview questions. Okay, now coming to multiple inheritance. So remember, multiple inheritance can be achieved only using interfaces. Okay, but before that, okay, what is multiple inheritance, right? So it is basically you are having more than one base class. Okay, so class 3 is trying to leverage or inherit from class 1 and class 2. Okay, so this is called multiple inheritance, multiple base classes in one derived class. Okay, so the question is, like, some the interview may ask, like, why multiple inheritance is not possible using classes in C hash. Okay, so I told you that, like, you can only enable multiple inheritance through interfaces, but the question is why it is not possible through classes. Okay, so that's what I try to explain here. So you have a class 1 and class 2, both contains the same method test. Okay, and you are using a class 3 derived from class 1 and class 2. So then you create a object for class 3 and you say you try to invoke the test method. So I have the test method available in class 1 and class 2, and class 3 I'm trying to invoke the test method. So tell me here which method it executes. So compiler will be in a dilemma, sailor will be in a dilemma. Hey, I see test method in the two classes, and which one I have to invoke? It's ambiguity. I cannot, I do not know which method to invoke, either from class 1 or class 2. Okay, so this is the reason why multiple inheritance is not enabled through classes. Okay, so same method in two base classes, so there is no way I can say the compiler execute from this class or this class. It has its ambiguity problem. But if you use an interface, okay, so one class and one interface, let's say, you can enable multiple inheritance. Why? Because right, if you use an interface, you don't write the implementation part, you only write the declaration of the function or method. Okay, so it is your responsibility to write the actual code for the abstract method interface. So you are going to write the code. That means the compiler knows that, like, hey, i see I see where you are going, but you are writing or you are implementing this particular method in your derived class, so I don't have any problem. I can invoke whatever you have written in your own class. Okay, see, suppose one class is inherited from two interfaces, and if both the interfaces contain the same method, then also we will not face any problem, because interfaces provides the method to the child class for implementation, not for the consumption. Right, interface only contains the declaration, and you in derived class you write the actual code. So you can cleverly, or the compiler can easily identify that, like, okay, so the method is already implemented in class 3. Okay, let's invoke the method from class 3. Okay, clear, guys, why multiple inheritance is not implemented through classes and why we have to use interfaces? I will go through with one example, but concept wise, are you clear? Okay, so now let me go through few examples. I'll just take one by one. There are few examples I have written. So here I have one interface. Okay, for it just accepts two numbers. It's an add method, and I have another interface which is inherited from the first interface. You see this interface 2 inherited from interface 1. It contains subtraction. That means interface 2 contains two methods. One is sub method, one is add method. Okay, and now see here I have one more class, implementation class. I'm inheriting from the interface 1. That means this one. So since it is a class, okay, since it is a class, you have to write the method implementation for add. You see here, just see here guys, the difference. In the first interface you have only the add method declaration, but second it's again an interface. That's why I do not require to implement to write the code for the add method, because my second interface also a interface. So when I say this one interface 2 derive from interface 1, that means since it is the interface also, I don't need to write the implementation for add. It's an interface. But the moment I create a class, okay, for the interface 1, it's a class I declared, right? So if it is a class, right, I need to implement the code. Okay, I repeat one more time. Interface 1 contains only one abstract method, and interface 2 is derived from interface 1, but interface 2 also a interface, right? That's why you don't need to write the implementation for the add method. But in case if you use class, okay, to derive from the interface, you have to write the add method. Okay, same thing if it is implementation 2, okay, from the interface 2. Interface 2 contains two methods, one add, one subtract. So since I'm going to use the class inherited from the interface 2, I'm writing both the methods. I'm implementing both the methods. Clear guys? Just take a look. Interface 1 contains one abstract method. Interface 2 derived from interface 1 contains one more abstract method. Okay, so you are deriving from the interface 1. I have not written the function body for add because it's a interface. But the moment you start using the class, okay, and try to inherit from the interface 1, you are writing the function body add. Same way for the implementation class 2, for the interface 2, you are writing two methods within the class. Okay, I'm just trying to print the values. Okay, so basically, the concept is important here, how you are using the interfaces and how you are writing or implementing the methods in the interface. Okay, here you see here, first I have written object 1, okay, for the first implementation class. It contains only the add method, that's why I used only add method here. But for second class I have two, add and subtract, so I use two methods. Okay, so here guys, so far we have been writing the programs in only one single program, right? Everything we are writing in one. But to make your code simplify, you can always write into different files. Okay, different .cs files. Okay, and whenever you wanted to write multiple files, so you have to say right click here you use add here. See, add new item. Okay, you can mention the different .cs file name. Okay, so I have started including the different files for the same program. Okay, so it is an interface real-time example. You see, first look at the interface definition. So interface definition, okay, it contains three methods: deposit amount, withdraw amount, check balance. Okay, so three methods. Okay, and you see the namespace is bank application. Okay, because whenever you wanted to use these interfaces or any classes, okay, everything should be in the same namespace. That's why I'm using the namespace as bank application. So whatever you write under this namespace, everything will be appearing or as part of namespace is bank application. So you have an interface iBank account contains three different methods. Okay, that is one class file. Okay, and I have one more class file called savings account. Okay, just remember this namespace and the interface name. Namespace is bank application, interface is iBank account. So in savings account, okay, so I'm using the same namespace here. Okay, and I am trying to use the interface iBank account in my class savings account. Okay, so basically the iBank account interface is we are trying to implement the methods of those three methods of iBank account in savings account. Okay, so the deposit amount, withdraw amount, okay, and check balance, all those methods I have explicitly written here. Similarly for current account, okay, same namespace. Okay, iBank account is my interface. Okay, you are trying to use the interface in current account, and again you have written those three methods: deposit, withdraw, and check balance. So basically abstract class is the one which contains three methods, abstract methods, and I have inherited this iBank account in my savings account and current account, and there I have written the implementation part. Okay, and then in the actual program.cs file, I tried to invoke that particular savings account and current account, right? So I've created one object for savings account and one object for current account. I tried to print the values like how we were doing it, for the abstract class, right? The shapes. Here I'm taking a different example for a bank. Okay, the methods are same, but it varies. The functionality varies for a savings account and current account. So I have a different logic for those. Okay, so this is interface real-time example, and let me show you a few for multiple inheritance also, because that's where everything started for interfaces, right? So multiple inheritance. Okay, so multiple inheritance example. So here I have one class interface one contains one abstract method test and another interface two, okay, and one more method test. You see here same test here and here, right? Then you are writing or you are creating a class called multiple inheritance class, and you are trying to inherit interface one and interface two. Okay, so it's called multiple inheritance. So you have multiple classes, okay, and one derived class, right? That's what multiple inheritance, right? You're trying to use more than one base class to derive. Okay, since multiple inheritance is not possible through classes, you're using interfaces. So two interfaces to consume in your derived class. Okay, but you see the test method name is same, test and test. So there is no ambiguity because I am writing the implementation part in my derived class. Okay, so though the test method contains in the first interface and second interface, I am writing the implementation in my derived class, so there is no ambiguity for the compiler. It simply invokes this method. Of course, there is nowhere this method is written, right? It's written only in the derived class. Okay, just prints. Okay, so one simple example I've taken how to use interfaces. So two different interfaces, okay, and you are using these two interfaces and inheriting in your derived class. Same way like now how you inherit the class, you have to say interface 1 comma interface 2, and then you are overriding the abstract method in your derived class. Okay, so now let's say like hey suppose you wanted to write a different implementation for this method and for this method. Okay, I mean it's very rare scenario, but I'm telling in case you wanted to write a different implementation for this method and for this method, that is still possible. Okay, how you do it, let me show you another example. Where it gone? Okay, this one. So same like the previous example, but see here you have the interface one contains two abstract methods, test and show, and again another interface contains two methods, test and show. Okay, and you are trying to inherit the interface one and interface two, so trying to implement the multiple inheritance for a class, multiple inheritance test class. Okay, now you see here, so you have two abstract methods, test and show. Okay, so I have written test method. Okay, and we see this show method contains in two different interfaces, so I can say that like I'm writing the function body for a implementation the interface one method and implementation two method. You see here I'm saying interface one dot method, interface two dot method. That means explicitly you are saying that hey, I know I have the method called show in two interfaces, but let's have a different logic for interface one and interface two. So in that case you have to prefix the interface for the method. See guys, like see there are lot many things are there in CH with the hoops concept. Okay, and I'm giving you the examples, but in reality like it's very rare to use all these kind of concepts. Okay, but I just wanted to convey like whatever is available in the C hash for hoops. So it's called explicitly you are conveying the compiler to invoke the show method from the interface one and interface two. Okay, so if you compile it, okay, see here. Okay, first I have written obj. Okay, and I said obj dot test because test method I have already overridden in my derived class. Okay, but here you have show class for interface one and interface two. So you have to somehow cleverly convey that, okay, execute this method or this method, right? Because by default, if I say show, again ambiguity comes. So that's why you see here what I did is I have created a object for the interface one. Okay, and then I said, okay, invoke the show method. Since the object belongs to interface one, okay, it executes interface one method. And since I have created one more object I2 for the interface 2 and invoking the interface method I2 method, it will come to here, because there is a way you need to convey the compiler that like hey, invoke this particular interface 1 show or this particular interface 2 show. So how do you say? You, instead of declaring the object reference for the inherited class, okay, you declare the object for the interface itself. Okay, you see, you did not say You did not create the object for the derived class. Instead, you created the object for the interface 1 and 2. Here you see in the first you have created for inherited class object. But since you wanted to explicitly invoke the method for the interface 1, you have to create a reference for interface 1 and interface 2. This is what I tried to explain in one of the slides. See, we can create a reference variable for both interface and abstract class. Okay, so you are creating a reference here. You're creating a reference variable here. Then you are trying to invoke the method from that particular interface. Okay, and let me take you one real-time example for. Let me close this. This one, yeah. Okay, so here again, give me a minute, guys. So if you look at the right side, I have a different class files. So if you see, my interface definitions are in this class. So to easily identify, I mentioned interface definitions. Okay, so interface, if you see, I have 3 different interfaces. One interface is to actually print and scan, and one interface is only for the facts. One interface is only for the to print the duplex kind of letters. Okay, so iPrinter task is responsible for printing the regular paper and also the scanning. iFax is only for sending the fax, and iPrint duplex is only for generating or printing the duplex letters. So there are 3 different interfaces. Okay, so why I have defined is, if you see, if I am going to use HP LaserJet printer, okay, so HP LaserJet has a ability to print all kind of letters, including the duplex letters. It has the ability to scan. It has the ability to send the fax also. So my HP LaserJet has the mechanism to have all 4 different methods. So if you see in my LaserJet class, I have declared my LaserJet class and I said you include the methods from those 3 interfaces, because my LaserJet printer is capable of generating the letters or printing the letters and sending the fax and also having a scan mechanism. So all I'm trying to do is I am inheriting all those 3 interfaces in my LaserJet class, and I am writing my methods for those all 4 different tasks. Similarly, if it is a liquid inkjet printer, I don't have the scanning facility, and I don't have the ability to print all kind of prints. I can only print a regular letter. Okay, only scan. I cannot do the fax. I cannot do the another printer. What is this called? What I have mentioned? Duplex. So I have only 2 tasks I can do using liquid inkjet printers. One is the regular print and one is scan. So since I have only can do only 2 tasks, so I have inherited only one interface here. In LaserJet, I'm inheriting all 3 tasks, but in liquid inkjet, I'm only inheriting only one interface. So you are declaring different interfaces. I make it as a more generic, and depending upon your printer type, you are inheriting those interfaces. If it is a LaserJet, okay, I have everything. I can do everything. Let's inherit all the interfaces. If it is inkjet, I have only limited capability. So let's only only derive whatever the interface I can do it. So I can do only the regular print and scan. So only I have inherited only one interface. And in the main program, okay, so LaserJet, I've created one object and I can do all 4 different tasks. So I can have the ability to scan, to print, to fax, or to print duplex letters. And if it is liquid inkjet, I have the ability only to scan and print. Okay, so just a simple example, because I cannot write that entire code for the printing and scanning. So I just executed some print statements.
Yeah.
Okay, so clear, guys. Mostly we covered interfaces and how we implement multiple
Yeah.
inheritance using interfaces.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any questions in today's class? I will share this deck after tomorrow's class, because I just wanted to amend a few more slides for polymorphism, which I'm going to cover in next day. Then I will send this complete deck to you. Okay, any questions, guys, in today's class? If not, okay, we'll wind up for the day. So
Yeah.
thank you very much for joining. We'll meet
Yeah.
tomorrow same time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for your time. Have a nice day.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks.